there could still be hope for imprisoned Bear Wolf, Joshua Richards, in Emmerdale ahead of his murder trial. Earlier in the year, the character escaped his enslavement on Ray Walters's Joe Absalom farm and throttled the villain, as a horrified Patty Dingle, Dominic Brunt, and Dylan Pender's Fred Kettle watched on. They then helped to bundle his body into the back of Jai Sharma's Chris Bisson depot van. After weeks of trying to keep the crime under wraps, Bear crumbled under the pressure and confessed everything to his therapist. He then picked up the phone and called the police. Breaking his bail conditions, Bear was taken back into custody, and new evidence proved that he did not act alone. Because he couldn't tie the same knot that was used to wrap up Ray's body, fearsome D.S. Walsh, Amanda Ryan, knew that he was lying. Knowing that the chances of him getting a self-defense charge were slim, Patty and Dylan decided to hand themselves in to the police. They were subsequently charged with perverting the course of justice, as their desperate family scrambled to try and find a way to free them. The solicitor explained that if it could be proven that Ray was looking to harm Dylan on the day of his death, the jury might believe that Bear was forced to lash out to protect the youngster. In today's episode, Aaron Dingle, Danny Miller, suggested to Patty's terrified wife Mandy, Lisa Riley, that they could get someone to lie, and their attention soon turned to Laurel Thomas, Charlotte Bellamy. Her son Arthur, Alfie Clark, urged his mother to do it, pointing out what a positive effect it could have on the village. Despite that, she was fearful of being implicated herself, and chose not to go through with the Dingles' request. Arthur later headed to the pub to give Aaron and Mandy the news that he would go through with the act. He explained that he was one of the last people to see Ray alive, so it would be more convincing coming from him. Although Mandy began to have second thoughts, Aaron reckoned that it might be their only choice and accepted Arthur's offer. Will it be successful? The village felt quieter than usual. Not peaceful, not calm, but heavy, like something was hanging over it, waiting to fall. Because behind cold prison walls, Bear Wolf was waiting for his future to be decided. And this time, hope felt dangerously thin. It replayed in their minds over and over again. That day, that moment, when everything spiraled out of control. On a remote farm once controlled by Ray Walters, Bear had finally broken free from months of torment. Fear, anger, survival, all collided in a single, irreversible act. And as Patty Kirk and Dylan Penders watched in horror, Bear lashed out. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. No one had planned it. No one had wanted it. But Ray was dead. And in the chaos that followed, panic took over. The three of them moved quickly. Too quickly. Driven by fear rather than logic. Ray's body was bundled into the back of a van belonging to Jai Sharma. A decision made in desperation. One that would haunt them forever. For weeks, they tried to pretend it hadn't happened. Tried to go back to normal. But guilt doesn't fade. It grows. It festers. And eventually, it demands to be heard. It was Bear who cracked first. Sitting across from his therapist, the weight became too much. The truth spilled out. Unfiltered. Raw. And once it was out, there was no going back. Bear picked up the phone. Dialed the police. Confessed everything. It was supposed to bring relief. Instead, it brought consequences. Breaking his bail conditions sealed his fate. He was taken back into custody. And then, the evidence started to unravel his story. D.S. Walsh wasn't convinced. Not even close. Because something didn't add up. The knot used to wrap Ray's body. Bear couldn't replicate it. A small detail, but a crucial one. You didn't do this alone, she said coldly. And just like that, the truth was closing in. When Patty realized what was happening, he knew one thing. They couldn't let Bear take the fall alone. So he made a decision. A dangerous one. Dylan didn't hesitate. If Patty was going, so was he. Because in his mind, this was all his fault anyway. They walked into the police station together and told the truth. Or at least, part of it. They admitted they had lied. About where they were. About what happened. The charges came quickly. Perverting the course of justice. Serious. Life-altering. And suddenly, all three of them were facing prison. Back in the village, panic spread. The Dingles rallied. Because that's what they did. They fought. Even when the odds were impossible. The solicitor's words offered a sliver of light. If you can prove Ray was a threat, they explained, it strengthens Bear's self-defense case. It wouldn't fix everything, but it could change enough. There was just one problem. They needed someone to say it. Someone credible. Someone believable. Inside the woolpack, Aaron Dingle leaned forward. What if we get someone to say it? Mandy stared at him. You mean lie? Aaron didn't answer. because they both knew the truth. Their thoughts turned to Laurel Thomas. She had seen Ray, spoken to him. She knew what he was capable of. But when they asked, Laurel couldn't do it. "I'm sorry," she said, tears in her eyes. "I just can't risk my kids." And just like that, their plan fell apart. Or so they thought, because someone else had been listening. Arthur Thomas. "I'll do it," he said. The room froze. Mandy blinked. Aaron frowned. "You?" Mandy asked. Arthur nodded. "I saw him. I spoke to him that day." "I can make it sound real," Arthur continued. "And it won't even be a full lie." That was the problem. Because half-truths are the most convincing lies of all. Mandy hesitated. This was a kid. A good kid. And they were about to drag him into something dangerous. But Aaron saw something else. An opportunity. A chance. "Maybe this is what we need," he said quietly. Because what they were considering wasn't just bending the truth. It was risking Arthur's future. For a chance to save someone else's. Meanwhile, Bear sat alone. Thinking. Waiting. He had accepted his fate. Or at least, he thought he had. Patty couldn't accept it. Not for Bear. Not for Dylan. Not for himself. And Dylan? He was already drowning. Because no matter what anyone said, he believed this was all his fault. Back in the village, the decision loomed. Would they let Arthur do this? Would they cross that line? Because saving one person shouldn't mean destroying another. But sometimes, it feels like the only option. As the night closed in, the village held its breath. Because everything now depended on one thing. Would Arthur go through with it?